Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibiers? Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. Good to have you here on this Friday. We made it to the weekend. I'm looking forward to sleeping in past 5:30 in the morning. I know that for sure. I'm looking tomorrow to put out an episode on a missing person. When I was at CrimeCon, I just looked at all these flyers, all these different family members' faces, and realized that I want to use this platform to bring awareness to people that are missing. So look for that tomorrow. I'm going to update also because big news today is that there has been an arrest in the 1996 murder of Tupac. Today, they arrested Dwayne Davis. The exact charges are not known at this time. However, there is a press conference scheduled for later today. So I'm going to watch that, and then I will tell you what was said on that on the next episode. Very interesting. The long road to justice indeed, right? Okay, music fact of the day. John Lennon was a huge Monopoly fan. He would play in hotel rooms. He would play on airplanes. He would stand up as he rolled the dice, and he was obsessed with Boardwalk and Park Place. He loved those two properties so much, he did not care if he won, just that he had possession of those two properties when he played. So we're going to talk about Barry Morphew because his attorney is speaking out, lashing out at people still pointing the finger at Barry. What did she say? The first and most important focus should be that the Morphews just learned they lost their beautiful mother and wife after she disappeared 3.5 years ago. What appears to be the overriding focus is a finger pointing right back where it started 3.5 years ago. A movement to blindly re-accuse Barry for Suzanne's death. Here are the facts. According to authorities, Suzanne Morphew was not found anywhere near the vicinity of her home, the town nearby, or the county she lived in. She was found in Moffat County, Colorado. Moffat is 45 miles south and a 45-minute drive away from the Morphew home, which is located in Maysville, Colorado. According to authorities who found Suzanne, her remains were found in a shallow grave in a dry desert field of sagebrush and natural grasses. Contrary to prior accusations, her remains were not found in a rocky mountainous region near her home, not in a location that was difficult to get to, or near the home and impossible to get to, due to being in a mine or under frozen tundra and buried under 6 feet of snow. Barry was the most scrutinized, dissected, and surveilled individual, minute by minute, hour by hour, using law enforcement cameras posted by his home, phone taps, and GPS devices placed on his car, all during the time frame of her disappearance and the years following. At no time did the FBI, CBI, Chaffee County Sheriff's Office, or the DA's office pinpoint or even generally claim that Barry was in any area south of his home near Moffat or anywhere near Saguache County at any relevant time frame. It would be ludicrous for anyone to try to fit the now known facts to prior false assumptions and accusations. It was the Saguache County officials that fortunately stumbled onto Suzanne's remains last week while looking for another missing woman, Edna Quintana. Law enforcement officials that were supposedly looking for Suzanne were never looking for Suzanne in the Moffat area or areas south of Maysville because they were only focused in on Barry being the suspect, as they knew Barry was not south of Maysville and certainly not 45 minutes south. The authorities focused their search for Suzanne in the area near the Morphew home, utilizing his phone and car forensics. The authorities pointed to the locations where Barry was May 9th and 10th, 2020. Barry was in Salida, north of his home, or in or near his home, and then on May 10th, 2020 at 5 a.m., drove to Broomfield, Colorado, a city 156 miles north of Maysville. He was never south of the house, and that is why they did not search that area. See the FBI's map relied upon by authorities about Barry's whereabouts on May 9th and 10th, 2020. The Morphew home, Barry's truck, Suzanne's and daughter's vehicles were immediately searched for evidence of human remains and Suzanne's blood using both forensics and dog sniff searches. There were no forensic evidence of Suzanne's deceased body or blood in any of the vehicles. What needs to be done instead of pointing fingers at Barry Morphew is asking the officials about the number of missing people and number of human remains that have been recovered in or from Saguache County in the recent past. Whatever happened to Crystal Reisinger, Edna Quintana? Suzanne, the man whose remains were found by Saguache County Sheriff's Office in the foothills on July 26, 2023, or the remains of the person found in another area in Saguache County last weekend. Then, in parentheses, more information from authorities tomorrow. What were the circumstances of their disappearances? What is cause and manner of death of the remains found in the area? What happened to them? Are they looking for other remains in this area? The public should demand answers about these 5 people who suspiciously went missing or were found dead in this area. The Morphew family and the legal team believe that CBI, local law enforcement, and the local DA's office have a conflict of interest and should not be involved in the future investigation of Suzanne's death. An objective and unbiased examination of Suzanne's death can only be conducted by an outside and independent team of investigators. When law enforcement focuses in on one person and refuses to review evidence objectively and fairly, it is a disservice to the community and creates exactly what has come to light: years of unsolved murders. She said when Barry was told they found Suzanne's remains that he was so stunned he couldn't even recall the conversation. Now, the area where Suzanne's remains were found has been labeled the Boneyard after a series of discoveries in the past few months. It's going to be interesting to see what happens here. I know a lot of people have opinions on this case. I think it's going to come down to some big issues of whether or not Barry gets recharged. Can they tie anything on those remains to Barry? You know, a lot of time has passed. It seems like that the remains were down to skeletal remains when they found them. So clearly a lot of DNA evidence is going to be gone. I need to see if Joseph Scott Morgan has answered this question, because if anybody knows, he would. Would they be able to see if there's any evidence of tranquilizers in bone marrow? You're not going to have any blood, probably. It's going to be down to what can they find in what was there. And I'm not sure exactly how that works when they're testing remains that are this old, as far as what can they find. I'm going to be watching this one really closely. I've followed this case since the day she went missing. A lot of people are hopeful that this could be the thing that lands Barry back in jail awaiting trial for murder. We will see what happens. Moving on to Pava LaPere, just a trigger warning. This entire section of this episode is going to be graphic, so just a heads up, if you're sensitive, you might want to fast forward. I was reading the charging documents today, and I wanted to go through at least what's in those, which gives a lot of insight and leaves a lot of questions as well. It says that Detective Saunders responded to Pava's apartment and met with Officer Stanford, who had responded earlier to the location in reference to a missing persons report. A coworker led Officer Stanford to the roof where he saw Pava's body. She was on her back, half clothed, with what appeared to be trauma to the face, head, and body. She was pronounced dead at 11:40. The crime scene consisted of brick, blood, buttons, pants, 3 teeth, a broken hair clip, and a pair of red shoes believed to be Pava's. That autopsy was performed on Tuesday. The cause of death was homicide by strangulation and blunt force trauma. Surveillance video was reviewed, and on September 22nd at 10:32 p.m., Pava can be seen entering the complex. She was wearing a green shoulderless top, a white sweater that was draped over her arms, red pants, and red shoes. Front door camera footage revealed the suspect, who is widely believed to be Jason Billingsly, walking up the steps, looking into the door, and waving Pava over. The victim can be seen getting off the couch in the lobby and walking to the front door of the apartment complex. The suspect was wearing a gray hoodie, black shorts, and black glasses. The victim let the man inside the building, where they were seen getting on the elevator together. At 11:08, the suspect can be seen leaving the stairwell into the lobby with his gray sweatshirt in his hand, scrambling for an exit. He was seen wiping his right hand on his shorts before exiting the building to Franklin Street and heading towards Howard Street. They said that a witness was able to identify Jason from that surveillance video. Evan Lambert from News Nation was able to get up on that roof yesterday where Pava's body was found, and said that it's not maintained, it's not easily accessible, and clearly it's not something that the residents typically go up there and enjoy. He said, "Did Pava go up there willingly? We know, according to the police charging documents, that she was in the elevator with this suspect, who they say murdered her. But did she go up to the roof willingly? It would be really tough to force or drag someone up there." It's interesting because he took photos of the access to the roof. There is no elevator that goes up there. There are a couple of stairwells, and then there is kind of a service stairwell where it's just right up against the wall. You can tell it's clearly for somebody that knows what they're doing climbing ladders. I wouldn't do it. But the point is they're saying is, did she go up there willingly? Because it would be very, very tough to carry a body up these stairs to the roof, not to mention really brazen, because you're potentially going to be seen carrying a dead body. I think it's a good point. He also said, in the way that the surveillance video is described, you can almost see the naiveness to her and kind of welcoming him in, possibly. We're not sure if at what point it turned into a forcible situation, but at least the very beginning, it begs a lot of questions. Did she want to show him the roof? Those are all things that the police are investigating right now. He also said the neighbor that he talked to gave an indication that Pava may have went up on the roof in the past. So just some history on Jason's crimes. By the way, in 2009, when he was 18, he pled guilty to first-degree assault. With that, he was given 2 years of supervised probation, but violated the terms in the second-degree assault case from 2011. The victim in that case was apparently girlfriend at the time. He served 2 years in prison for that. After his release, he was convicted of rape in 2013. That's where he was given the 30 years and served none of that, using those good behavior credits to shorten his sentence. The victim in that 2013 case where he got the 30-year sentence said she was never told that he was released from prison. She says she thanks God that he didn't kill her. And immediately she said, when I heard the name, my heart started pounding. I had no idea he was even out. I kept looking behind my back, checking the news to see if he was caught. It was so stressful. I just thought he was coming for me for putting him in jail. When they said blunt force trauma to the head, I could only imagine what that girl went through, because when he hit me, his punches were so hard my ears would ring. I lost consciousness. It was a terrible situation. A neighbor who lives in that same apartment complex as Pava said that Jason returned to the scene 2 days after Pava's murder on Sunday. The woman said she felt this weird vibe when she noticed him, and it made her pause when she was putting in her access code for the building. She spoke to News Nation anonymously, saying, "It didn't feel right. I felt like something was wrong." She said he was standing behind her, and Pava's building is in the 300 block of this street. Jason told that neighbor he was looking for a building in the 500 block. He didn't pursue anything about coming inside, and she was able to get in without him following her. She said she did report that to police, but the police would not confirm or deny to News Nation that she had indeed made that report. It's so crazy to think if they'd have just put out this guy's photo after such a brutal attack on 2 people, maybe Pava would not have been killed. I don't like blaming. I'm not an investigator. I'm not a detective. I'm not a police officer. But you have a man who brutally attacked 2 people and tried to burn them alive in that townhouse, and to not put his picture out there. You have to wonder, if they had, would he have went into hiding immediately and not been out to do what he did to Pava? By the way, defense attorney Dan Eckhart was on Banfield last night and said that 38 states have this good behavior credit system or similar programs. We have to look at that. I think that should only be available to inmates who are non-violent offenders. It's just scary to think that you can mind your P's and Q's while you're inside and then get released with an original release date, by the way, of 2043. It's so obvious, I think, that our prison system needs complete overhaul. We need to really look at actually protecting the public and who we're keeping behind bars for extended amounts of time. We should not live in a society where somebody who is a nonviolent offender serves more time than a violent offender. It just shouldn't happen that way. There are 2 different types of crimes. Violent offenders clearly cross a line. It's not saying that nonviolent offenses don't hurt victims, but you see my point. In Maryland, you can get up to 50%. That's 50% of your sentence reduced, and that state is on the higher end of allowing that. Other states, not so generous. For example, Florida, you can only get 15% of your sentence reduced for good behavior. He is currently charged with first-degree murder, first-degree assault, 2 counts of second-degree assault, reckless endangerment, and it says beside that charge, he did recklessly engage in conduct to strangle the victim to death that created a substantial risk of death or serious injury. Also, possession of a dangerous weapon. It said by that, did openly wear or carry a brick with the intent or purpose of causing injury in an unlawful manner. The man who was one of the victims in the townhomes has spoken out about this ordeal, and it sounds something out of a horror movie, y'all. Just another trigger warning. This does get kind of graphic. He told the Daily Mail that he is furious with authorities for not tracking Jason down. He said that Jason stole his cell phone, texted his mother asking for money, and then inboxed a friend of his on TikTok asking for money again. He said that was the device police were using to track him, was his cell phone. He got really emotional as he said he was devastated and he cried when he saw Pava's face. He said, after what he did to us, the police should have warned everyone this guy was out there and that he was dangerous. He said that he and his girlfriend fell asleep in the basement and the woman woke up first. She heard somebody banging on the door. The door has a lock on it, and in the charging docks, it said that Jason kicked in the door. However, the man says that police have it wrong in that report. He said that she opened the door and didn't see anyone. Then she heard a voice yelling from the top staircase that led to their next floor in their unit. It said, "Maintenance, you have a flood in the kitchen." When she got to the top step, he grabbed her by the hair and threw her to the ground. He proceeded to pistol whip her, and Jason shouted, "Where's the money at?" He also asked if anybody was downstairs with her. He forced her on the ground and duct taped her ankles and her head, leaving just enough where she could breathe. The man, whose last name is Gilmore, woke up feeling something touching his back. He thought it was his girlfriend, so he kind of woke up to go closer, and then a gun was pressed against his head. The man was in a ski mask and asked him, "Where's that money at?" At first, he thought it was a robbery because he had expensive clothing in the room. He had Christian Dior shoes and some cash because he had been paid earlier that night. The man, believed to be Jason, told him if he tried anything stupid, he would sexually assault his girlfriend, who was still upstairs at the time, and that he would come and kill him. Gilmore said that he was handcuffed behind his back and moved to a kneeling position by the bed. He likened it to kind of kneeling by your bed for prayers. He said his face and ankles were duct taped as well. Jason brought the woman back downstairs, put on music, turned it up loud, and then assaulted the woman and then forced her to drink liquor. He taunted the woman about her boyfriend, asking, "Is this the sort of man you deal with? He don't even have no protection." He said the man stole marijuana from his pocket, smoked some of that, and then drank Bacardi that he had found beside the bed. The man left the room and the woman asked Gilmore if he thought they were going to die. So she found some scissors and started to cut off this duct tape. He asked his girlfriend if the attacker was just one person or if there were two. She told him it was the maintenance man who did it, and then he told her to be quiet. He did not want him to hear that they knew who he was. He was afraid that Jason would kill them. They were removing the duct tape and Jason comes back in. He said he came in and put the gun to my head and told my girlfriend, "Didn't I tell you I don't have anything to lose?" Gilmore said he told Jason, "You do not have to kill me. I did not see your face. You don't have to shoot me or kill me." Gilmore said he closed his eyes really tight when he said that. Jason replaced the duct tape on Gilmore's face and ankles and put him in the closet, but Gilmore could still see out of his right eye. Jason proceeded to sexually assault the woman again. Then he put on gloves and tried to strangle her with a cord and then his hands. He cut into her legs and ankles with the knife. She fought him, and then he proceeded to cut her throat twice. He then picked the woman up and dropped her, and Gilmore said there was a thump. He thought she was dead, and he kind of assumed Jason did too. The man took a rag and rubbed it on his body and face. The second time he did that, the rag reeked of gasoline. He also was pouring some in the room. Gilmore said he knew that he was going to start a fire, and he thought that would be how he died. Gilmore counted to 5, and then the lights went out. Then he counted 6, 7, and 8. And he heard a whoosh noise and saw the orange glow of fire, and then heard the woman scream that she was on fire. He told her to stop, drop, and roll, and he could hear her smacking her body to put the flames out. He told her to go find help, so she opened a window in the basement and started to scream. Gilmore was trying to kick open that closet door at the same time. He said at this point, the room was really thick with smoke and starting to get hot. Now, the woman was able to get outside the window and started yelling for help. Gilmore, however, he was still handcuffed with his hands behind his back, which means he couldn't pull himself out of the window to escape. He said he tried to bunny hop out, but he slipped. He said he tried a couple of more times with no luck, but at this point, he could feel the carpet on fire beneath his feet. He backed up to get more speed to jump out. He tried, and at this point, the woman had returned with a man. They both pulled him out of that basement. He said his girlfriend came to me and put her forehead on top of mine, and then I asked her, How did he get in the house? She said he let himself in the house. He is the maintenance man. He has a key. He said, we kept crying and crying because the burns were hurting my chest, arms, and stomach. Now, near the crime scene, investigators found a backpack that had a knife, rolls of duct tape, used duct tape that had hair stuck on them, a sweatshirt, condom wrappers, damp blue towels that looked to have bleach stains on them. And then also found nearby was a bleach container, a gas can, a lighter, and other items they're not identifying at the moment. Security footage showed a man in a face mask point the gun at the woman, and he was seen in the sweatshirt that was found in the backpack near the crime scene. Gilmore was burned on his arms, feet, and chest. He is getting skin grafts for those burns. The woman has since been released from the hospital. They're both so lucky to be alive. He did clarify the 5-year-old child has no connection to him and his girlfriend. So I'm not sure if that child was in another unit somewhere or what. They really haven't specified exactly where this child was that was treated and released. When police showed him the photos of several men to see if he could identify a suspect, he identified what he called the maintenance man as the suspect. Remember, police said Jason did work in that building, so kind of all fits. It's very sad to think, kind of the hindsight's 2020, and that was one of the focuses of that presser that they had a couple of days ago. Should they have put out that picture? Let me know what you think in the comments. I know hindsight is one thing, but at the same time, you're talking about a very violent attack that we just talked about. Should they not have warned the public that somebody that was capable of doing that was on the loose, even if he knew him, and even if it wasn't targeted? This guy's like 6'4", 300 plus pounds. It's not like he would have been hard to spot. And we're going to keep our eye out for any developments in that. Moving on to Bryan Kohberger, a search warrant that was released shows that investigators were zeroed in on Bryan's online browsing and what he was doing on Amazon and other popular websites. One search warrant that was served on Amazon May 10th said they had reasonable suspicion that Kohberger's activity on Amazon from March 20th through the 30th of last year, as well as November 1st through the 6th, may shed light on their investigation into the murders of Xana, Ethan, Kaylee, and Maddie. The warrant asks for payment methods, items that Bryan put into his cart from the site, items that were deleted from his cart, saved items, wish lists, comments that he made on products, or any reviews that he read. All detailed customer click activity pertaining to knives and accessories. They also served YouTube with a search warrant asking for subscriber information and device identifiers for all devices that logged into accounts, as well as cookies and location pings. Those Google search warrants are huge. If you followed Lori Vallow's case, you know that ultimately that's what led investigators to find the bodies of JJ and Tylee on Chad Daybell's properties, because Alex's phone pinged on his property the morning after each kid was last seen alive, within meters of where their bodies were found. On October 1st, Apple was served with a search warrant asking for all devices associated with a specific user ID, electronic serial numbers, and SIM card information. They also asked for contents of all email, messages, and files that were stored on the iCloud. They asked for locations where the account or devices associated with the accessed account, including all the data stored in connection with AirTags, location services, Find My iPhone, and Apple Maps. They served a search warrant to Spotify asking for logs or user actions, searches, playlists, interaction with other users, streaming history, and user device sensor data to include motion generated or orientation generated device sensor data, which the user device collects about the way the user holds their phone, which is interesting. We saw that in Murdaugh, where they looked at the orientation the phone was in when it was accessed. A search warrant to Venmo asked for any bank accounts, credit cards, debit cards, and transactions linked to the account and the names of any recipients of any money that was transferred. We also know they served a search warrant on Google, TikTok, and AT&T. He'll be back in court on October 26th. His attorneys are expected to argue to have the indictment dismissed. Moving on to JonBenet Ramsey. Her dad talked to Ashley Banfield, one of my favorite people in the world, that some changes have been made to people investigating the case. 5 or 6 detectives have been terminated, and someone who has been on the case for over 20 years was put on night patrol. Not fired, but put on night patrol. He said he feels encouraged by the changes They met with the chief of police and the district attorney a few months ago. He said there was evidence taken from the crime scene that was not tested for DNA. The family has asked now that be done with the newest technology and also use public genealogy to see if they can start finding that connection through making a family tree, much like they did with Bryan Kohberger. Moving on to Gypsy Rose, y'all. This case has always disturbed me on such a deep level. Her mom, Dee Dee Blanchard, forced her to fake illnesses throughout her childhood. She was forced to act as if she had leukemia, muscular dystrophy, and brain damage, among other things. Dee Dee was stabbed to death back in June of 2015. Gypsy pled guilty in 2016. She testified against her ex-boyfriend, and he was convicted of first-degree murder. Gypsy was granted parole. She'll be released after serving 85% of her sentence that was set at 10 years for the second-degree murder that she pled guilty to. Her release date is set for December 28th. I've read some interesting opinions from listeners today. Most people are very, very happy that she's getting out. Sympathize with her because of what she was put through as a kid. However, I have read some comments from people that feel she really took advantage of her boyfriend, Nicholas. Apparently, he has autism and felt like she used sex to kind of coerce him into killing her mother. Let me know what you think. It's very complex, this case, and you have to wonder. I think she has gotten married in jail, and I think she's also established some connections with family members. So hopefully when she gets out, she can find whatever normalcy she could salvage. I hope she finds happiness personally. I never really thought she should have been put in prison that long, to be honest with you. I kind of just felt like she was a huge victim and her development clearly emotionally probably wasn't normal. I know a lot of people are happy about it. Personally, I'm happy as well. What do you guys think? Are you happy that she's getting out on December 28th? And also, do you think that they should revisit her boyfriend's life sentence he got for first degree murder? Let me know in the comments. That's it for today. I hope you guys have a good rest of your evening. We will likely see you tomorrow for a missing persons case and an update on that press conference about Tupac. All right, guys, we'll see you soon.